Welcome to part 9 of our redevelopment of the KidsCanCode shoot 'em up. We're now dealing today with lives. Up to now we've only had one life, and once, although we had a shield, once the shield broke down then we died. So this time we're going to have 3 lives. The code for all these versions is here on my GitHub page, so I'll link that in the description. And we're doing today's in Pygame with Python, obviously. Right, it's a relatively simple one. The only real changes are in the player. We need to add a lives variable here. In the previous ones where we've had the shield, we've had this alive equals true, so we're now having a lives one, and also a new one called hidden, which we set to false, and a hide timer, which is set to 0. So this is used to hide the player once a life has been lost for a short time, and then we reappear with a full set of stats again, but having lost one life. So that's how that's controlled. You'll notice how my list of global variables here is ever growing, which is irritating me. So I'm thinking in the near future I will change this player into a full proper class again, just so that I can get rid of this global word, which irritates me every time I see it. So for the time being, that's what we're doing. So let's go back to the main list here. So don't think we've added anything new here. No, this is all we had before. Okay, so what we've done is to draw a new, or write in a new function here, which, if I just increase the font a little bit, so I've called it draw lives. Now the idea here is to draw 3 miniature ships in the top left corner of the screen, and once we get hit sufficiently and lost all the value of the shield, one of those 3 ships will disappear, so we only get 2, then 1, and so on, so that it gives us 3 lives. I'll just show you that in action, but because the sound and everything is running, I won't talk over it, but just observe how I'm deliberately going to let myself get hit frequently until we've lost all 3 lives, and you can keep an eye on that top right hand side to see how the lives disappear. So 3 lives at the moment. Just get into the way of all the mobs, so that I've lost 1, and you can see we've now just got two ships left here. Okay, down to 1 life, so once this one is gone, then of course we're dead. And that's it. So it's just to increase the number of lives we've got by representing those three miniature ships. So it's actually relatively simple. So the draw lives function takes the drawing surface, an x and y coordinate, the number of lives, and the image that we're going to use to draw. So what it does is it uses a simple for loop to go through the number of lives, and on the assumption we've got that we have 3, which is the maximum amount, it will draw, it'll get a rectangle from the image, it'll set the x position to add 30 to it each time it runs through the loop, so that we get that x value changing across the window by 30 pixels at a time, starting with our original value of X. The Y value stays the same, and then we simply split that image using its rectangle onto the screen. So it's relatively simple. The player collisions is where we detect the lives, of course. So we give the player initially 3, lives equals 3, and then in this one here, if the value of our shield drops below 0, then we drop the number of lives by 1. So it starts off at 3, drops to 2, then 1, and eventually 0. Once we've lost a life, we reset the shield back to 100. We play the die sound, but instead of that being the end of the game, we simply hide. So we play the death explosion graphics, we play the die sound, so just as if we were about to be permanently wiped out. But as long as the lives is greater than 0, then once it drops below 0, then we set player alive to false, but otherwise we hide the player. So that's a new function that is in player, so I'll show you that now. So if we have sufficiently enough damage from mobs that our shield goes below 0, then we hide and reset the shield back to 100. Let's show you how the hide works. So all that hide does, again, we've had to use this horrible global word again because the hidden is set up here. So hidden is true, and then the hide timer is used to get the number of ticks from the Pygame clock, and then the center of the rectangle is made so that the player is dropped below the height of the window, so shared height plus 200. So if the window was this high, then we're dropping it 200 below, so it's out of sight and out of reach of mobs, because they mobs are or reset once they hit the bottom, so we can't kind of get destroyed twice while we're hiding. So then during the update, if we're hidden, then we update the hide timer, which started at 0, and that remains that way during all the update cycles 60 times a second until we've added enough delta time to the hide timer to reach 2 seconds. So we're going to hide for 2 seconds. Then we reset the hide timer, hidden becomes false, and then we reset the position of the player back to the center of the screen, which is its kind of default starting position. So that's how the hide function, it's all in part of the player class there. So let's see how that comes into being on here. So in the collisions thing, we hide the player if we get hit and the shield drops below 0. So it's reset ready for us, and then we're going to be hidden away for 2 seconds, and then we pop back up again. So one thing we do need to check is whether we are allowed to shoot. So what I've done here is to change the shoot function so that we were originally just checking, are we allowed to fire a new bullet? But now we're also checking that we're not hidden. So there are 2 things that have to be checked here, which is are we allowed to fire a new bullet, and are we not hiding? If that's okay, then we shoot as normal. Otherwise, what can happen is while hiding, you can actually fire bullets up while you're in the hidden state and destroy things, which I kind of think as cheating. If you didn't want that and you want to allow that to happen, just remove the and not player hidden bit, and then you can fire your bullets when you're hidden. So that's just something to be aware of. There is nothing in the update function. There's nothing in the load function that does anything with that, so it all happens in the draw. So in the draw function here, we've got the draw lives is called after we have drawn the explosions, the mobs, the bullets, everything else. So then finally we've got to draw the lives, which draws it at the position we have set here, which is the width minus 100, 5 pixels down. We pass in the player lives and the image, which is this data player mini image. Now let's see where we get that image from. That's coming in the load images one here. So we've got the ones as we had before. These are all as they were before, but then we've got this new one which is data.player mini image, and there we take the original data player image and scale it by these amounts here. So we're changing it to 25 wide by 19 there, and that makes a nice neat small image which we can paste in. So again, don't forget to add in our data class, here we are, the player mini image. So that's one new item for the data class. Then we load in that image with the same image as the laser red, sorry, the player ship orange, but resized to make it much smaller. Again, it's kind of pre-done here, where it's scaling it and storing it in a pre-scaled state so that we can then later on draw it directly using this draw live. So we're using that ready scaled image and just drawing that there. So that's how that one works. So that's actually relatively simple. So let me just show you that once more. So the 3, when we start off, we have lives of 3, so all 3 images are drawn. When we get hit, the lives are reduced, and therefore it will only draw smaller numbers, because we've only got either 0, 1, sorry, only 1, 2 or 3 lives left. Once we've reached 0, the game's over. So let's show that once more. 3 lives at the moment. All gone. When I get killed next time, I'm going to try and hitting the space bar. There were no bullets coming up until I reappeared. And there we are, we're done.